a guest house for them. And there was one black lady, she was from America. And she was already so strong in her faith and in her burqa, and I was just in my, okay, get the buttons closed on your coat. and she just said, well, I had one day a conversation with my mother, and she said, oh, I love you so much, and I accept everything, but please take off the veil. And she said, Mom, I love you too very, very much, and I would do anything for you, but don't ask me to take off the veil. And she was so strong in it, and you could feel how much she loved her mother, and she would really have done anything for her mother. But her love to God was even stronger than that, because she has discovered for herself it's the right thing to do. And she didn't want to leave that.
Once you've conquered it and got over that hurdle, there's no way you're going to go backwards again. Once you've experienced being able to do it and do it successfully and face the world, you know, wearing it and finding out how people treat you differently, you can't go backwards. And you've conquered one of the major things in all religions. They ask people to try and conquer these things, greed, these sorts of things, and vanity is a huge thing to conquer. And it's very, very difficult to get over that, and Islam has given us a way to conquer this, you know, enormous problem of vanity. And once you've done it, the satisfaction that you get from it, you'll never go backwards, no matter who asks you.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're saying about the hurdle, and I was thinking, sometimes living in Western society reminds me of, have you ever gone up those slip roads that run past the dual carriageway, run alongside the dual carriageway, and all the headlights are coming towards you, and you're going up in one direction against the headlights? And that you know, you've talked about hurdles, that sometimes it's about that. It's actually, people do experience it, it's actually very difficult, and it's, you know, at the end of the day, it's about your ego and about yourself and how I'm presenting myself and what people are thinking of me and what people are making of me. Did you find that there you were making a statement in Turkey, for example, that I'm going to wear, although the law of the land says, you know, in public buildings, I'm a bank manager, I can't do it, you said you wore your scarf to work and then had to take it off because of the law. Did you have that sense that it was a battle, that it was difficult?
Yes, it was a great battle for me. And of course, I came over gradually. Gradually, and they accepted me, and they accepted me because they knew me, what kind of person I am, and slowly they accepted me afterwards, and there was no problem at all.
I think that's what you're all saying, that it's the battle seems harder than actually once you begin. It's actually much easier than it appears to be. And there's a question I wanted to ask you, Sophia, growing up in America. And I guess I'm wondering about what the battle, if you like, is there, what it feels like.
Well, it was different for me because both my parents were white Americans, so I had nothing to fall back on except my name was Arabic. If someone saw me, they just assumed that I was, you know, like them. So it was very hard when I was younger. I didn't cover my head when I went to high school. You know, I went to beginning university, and people, and I deeply regret that, because I think it would have been a lot easier for me. People had no idea I was Muslim. I wasn't Pakistani, I wasn't Arab, I wasn't anything that might say I'm Muslim until they heard my name and would start questioning me. And looking back on it, when I did begin to wear it, you know, I thought, I really should have done this from the beginning. It would have made life so much easier, and it made life so much easier when I began wearing it, and things definitely changed how people responded to me and how I spoke and interacted with people and how I held myself, the confidence, everything was completely different. And I think Allah gives you that extra confidence and that strength. You know, you're taking that step towards Him, which is a huge step. Imagine everything you're getting back from Him. So I definitely in hindsight now, you know, regret not doing it at a much younger age, and I think I would have had a different experience.
I think what comes to my mind is thinking about younger people. Again, you know, thinking about this travelling up the side of the dual carriageway with the headlights of other people coming towards you, saying, "Oh, you know, you're not in the trendiest of clothes. You're not looking fashionable. What is that thing you've got on?" And what can we say to perhaps girls who are thinking about starting to wear?
I don't actually find that. I get really lovely responses from my female friends or ladies that say, you know, you always look very smart, you always look together, you never look, you know, like you're a mess when you're coming out, you look very graceful. You know, I've had very positive comments about the way that I look wearing a coat and a scarf, so
And the
I don't actually agree with that.
I'm sure that you get treated with more respect because you wear the veil, in general. I mean, I've never experienced anything but what I feel is greater respect because I wear it.
I mean, I accept that for young girls just about to go to university, actually it being quite difficult. But I think a lot of that is dependent on how parents, particularly how mother has been in preparing the child at a very early age, so that it's seen as something that's normal. I mean, if you're expecting your older child to start wearing a scarf just because she's going off to university, then already that's quite late. So it's the preparation really that we
it's important to take them out and find something they're comfortable with. Take the time, not just produce a black coat and scarf and say, you've got to wear this now. Let's go out together and find something that you're comfortable with. Let's find a coat you're happy with. You know, if I have to spend a little bit of extra money, it's worth the investment, obviously. So let's find a scarf you're happy with. Let's find something that you are comfortable, you know, and you know, if you need sort of 5 different scarves to make you happy, fine. You know, if you're happy wearing it, this is how you're going to wear it, then that's fine.
And I think it is a form of protection because really, if a young girl who is a Muslim goes to university without wearing a scarf, and then she's going to be invited to so many things, and if she's found it hard to wear the scarf, she's going to find it very much more difficult to then say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to join in those activities. And she's on a, really, I suppose, a slippery slope in our understanding.
The timing's critical though. I mean, I think the earlier one starts with introducing the scarf, the better. So that it's not a shock. It's stages. Yeah.
But I like Safia's point there, because actually the other message you're giving to your child is that okay, this is a religious requirement. Let's see how we can work with where you are to
work it into your
lifestyle. Yeah.
And I'll trust you more when you're wearing it, which means you'll be able to join that club at university. You'll be able to do this. You'll be able to do that. And you know, because you've taken that step, I see how responsible you are. And how, you know, we're working together to do this, and that means you're going to actually be able to do a lot more than you would if you weren't wearing it.
Because one of the concerns people do have about scarves, about how it looks, is that actually, you know, we come back again a little bit to thinking about Muslim women being repressed, and that's why I picked up on your point, because actually you've introduced the notion of choice, and then you've said about starting earlier, but and thinking about one of the ways that the image has kind of been quite negative is, for example, we'll keep going back to the image of the Taliban women who were denied an education. What would you know, when people say to you, well, you know, this is the two associations they make immediately between people in full veil and this very repressive society, what do you say to them?
Well, you can only tell them, obviously, that Islam is not about oppression, that Islam is actually stating that every Muslim woman and every Muslim man has the duty to acquire knowledge and to get knowledge and get education, and that everybody has a free will and can make a choice, and that there should be no whatever kind of oppression in religion. And that's just something you can tell them, and you can tell them, well, if you are versatile for that, then can you say, look, you can look it up in the book if you don't believe me. Just take any Quran and read it up, it's in there. You can read about it. But usually they take it from you and say, yeah, well, if you say so, then it is definitely like that. And when they talk to you, they get as well the impression that you are not somebody who has absolutely no education and doesn't know what they are talking about, or are a grey mouse who is sitting like that and is afraid to open their mouths. So they get, it's how confident you get the message across, and that impression they take away from you. So it is very important that you self know why you are wearing the veil. If you self don't know it, if you only do it because your parents tell you to, or very often I heard it because in Germany there is a vast Turkish community. They say, well, why do I wear the veil? Yeah, but Allah said it. Why did He said it? I don't know. Well, he said it. So they are only and entirely, which is not a bad intention, doing it in obedience to Allah, which is not bad, but they never questioned it. And I think it is important that you question what you are doing. Why am I doing it? Just to gain the confidence to say, to know for yourself. In the first place, obviously, but as well because we have an obligation to tell people as well. We have a treasure, and it is not only for us. It's a treasure that could benefit everyone in the world, and we shouldn't just keep it to ourselves. So we want to share it. We don't force anybody, but we want to tell people, look, here is a treasure. If you want to make use of it, most welcome. It's there for you. So we need to gain that confidence and knowledge so that we can then give people the impression as well that we are confident.
Can I end on one last point? I just wanted to ask those of you, particularly who have boys, young boys growing up, what do you say to them? Because Purdah, we're talking a lot about it from the point of view of women doing Purdah. What do you say to your young boys? Your boys are quite big now.
I try to tell them again and again that Purdah is not just for women. Purdah is, as much as it is for women, it is as much as it is for men valid. So the men are actually mentioned first in the Holy Quran, that they should cast their eyes down and should not look around. And quite some obligations are on them as well. And that's something the boys should be aware, because quite often I find in societies where they are not aware of that, the boys are getting all the freedom, they can do whatever they want, and the girls are kept quite restrained, which gives a completely wrong impression again. So that's another thing that we need to tell our boys as well, and educate our boys as well, and with prayers and efforts we will have to see what is the outcome later on.
My son's 3 years old. When I put my coat on, he says, "Mummy, where's your scarf?" So it starts early.
I think a very important thing for boys is that we teach them that they have to pay respect to women.
Yes.
That is a very important point. And if you respect someone, if you pay your respect towards someone, you will treat him in a way that you don't want to hurt him in any way.
And that's for everyone, not just women.
And that is for everything.
Everyone.
For whether they are for parents, for elders, for youngers, for girls, for boys. Everybody deserves respect. But in particular because Islam is misinterpreted so badly in that respect. And unfortunately our so-called Muslim societies are not exactly a good example on that. What Islam actually really teaches. That's something we have to pay attention to if we bring up our boys, and don't take it for granted, or they will understand it themselves. I think that's something that needs to be emphasized as well, pointed out to them.
Well, ladies, thank you very much for your comments on this discussion, and I hope that we have served to discuss some of the ideas that certainly have been very topical in our society here in London with the viewers, and thank you very much for your participation. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.